We're talking about the Ten Commandments, and I know you've already heard it once through the scripture, once through Laura, but today we're just going to maybe touch, yes, on all 10 commandments today, all right? In the Bible study today, we actually touched on the 10 Commandments too. We looked at Luther's small catechism and brought up some of the things that was in that. And I asked the class if they could spotlight on them, recite the 10 Commandments. Could they do it? And Mitz was able to do it by rote. I was very proud of her. Good job, Mitz. But just think to yourself, like 10 Commandments, I can't even name ones. I think you don't kill people. Is that one of them? Yeah. So today we're going to go over there. So hopefully the goal is that you leave this and you're either, it's so deeply embedded in your brain that you remember them, or either that or we brainwash you through the sermon or however, that to get you to know these things and live these things, all right? And so here's the thing to know about them. When presented to Moses, they're written, it says in Exodus, by the hand of God onto 2 stone tablets, not iPad tablets, but actual stone tablets. And they had 10 commandments on them, separated by the first 3 about how we interact with God. What does life look like in relationship with God? And the last 7 about what does life look like in relationship with each other. So I want you all to say this with me. It's all about relationship. All about relationship. This isn't God being bored one day and saying, oh, they look like they're loving life too much. I got to throw some commandments on them, some rules, some red lights in their life, all about these thou shalt nots. This will really stir them up. But no, it's all about how we better do relationship with God and each other. Once again, it's all about relationship. Amen. So you may have noticed, while Laura was doing it, you're like, that number doesn't coincide with what I was learned or what I was taught in school. What I was learned, I'm getting too southern down here. What was They learned me well down here. That's great. Anyway, but you understood me, yeah. So they depending on what denomination you were raised with, you may have been taught them a little bit differently, or at least not the actual commandments, but taught the ordering, or not even the ordering, the numbering. So if you're Lutheran, maybe you're raised with, I am the Lord your God, you shall have no other gods before me, all in one, right? But however, some of them just, as you can see with the Roman Catholic Lutheran, we separate our covets. We're the only ones that separate, thou shalt not covet the house, and then number 10, you shall not covet house and everything, etc., after that. All right, so this is a helpful way of knowing. And today we're not so much talking about which number is what, but the importance of which one each one is. All right, so we'll start with numero uno. All right, I am the Lord your God. You shall have no other what? See, you guys know this. God's before me. Very good. And this is the key one. This is the key one because I don't know if you know this, whether you're atheist, agnostic, Roman Catholic, whatever you are, everyone worships someone or everyone worships something. What's the highest value? Where is your true north? Where is your center of gravity? Where do you put your weight? What do you lean on? If it's yourself, guess who you're worshiping? Yourself. If it's money, guess what you're worshiping? The money, right? If it's sports, if it's relationships, if it's broken relationships, what is the thing you worship? So God's saying, listen, relationships important, money's like all this stuff's important, but I'm number one. You want to have life, you want to have true abundant life, you got to put your stock in or your weight into me because that is true life. The word worship, what are we worshiping? The old English of it is worthship. Everyone say worthship. Worthship. So the question then becomes, what's of highest worth to you? When we worship, we're saying, God, you are worth rolling out of bed on a Sunday morning to worship. You are worth this. God, I hold you as the highest worth in my life. There shall be no other gods before me. And when God came and gave the plagues, can anyone tell me some of the plagues that happened while Moses was trying to get his people freed from the Pharaoh? Locusts, absolutely. Frogs, yuck. The Nile turned to blood, absolutely. Anything else? The boils. Wait, what was the one over there? Yep, hail and lightning, not just any hail. It was like hail of fire, I think. It was hail fire, yeah. Anything else? Death of the firstborn was the last one. That's the one that did it. Yeah, absolutely. But these weren't plagues against the people of Egypt. They were plagues against the gods of Egypt. This was God saying, there's no other gods before me. Watch this. Free my chosen people. And this was just saying that, I don't know if you counted, but really, as Christians, we should have only one God. We're monotheists. We're not polytheists, but we live our lives sometimes like we are polytheists. Sometimes our wallet, our pocketbooks, hold higher value to us than our God. Sometimes our sports team is higher than our God. So my question to you is, what is the God that you are worshiping in your life? And God says, make me number one. Let's move on, otherwise we won't get through all 10. All right? You shall not make wrongful use of the blank of the Lord your God. What'd you say? Name. Very good. Now, maybe you do this more often than you think. There's been times I've stubbed my toe and said some choice words. But the point is this: what you say absolutely matters. And even belittling God without even thinking you're bringing God down or saying his name flippantly, it's bringing God to a level where God isn't rightly to be. Like, it's not like it's like, oh, that really hurt my feelings. But it's about how we treat our God of the universe, all right? So don't be flippant with your words, especially when referencing God. And sometimes we say to ourselves, well, sticks and stones, words don't really matter, right? But they do as people called by Christ to be Christians in the world, to be his hands and feet in the world. What we say does matter, and people hear you differently knowing that you're a Christian versus someone that doesn't claim to be a Christian. And guess what? What you say, what you do, makes you stand for every single Christian in the world. Oh, you know that Jim, he said this the other day. Oh, those Christians, they're such hypocrites. So you actually are representing God, the whole Christianity thing, and spirit of joy. And so don't reflect badly on us, guys. Come on. Be careful what you say. Just kidding. So just remember, what you say matters. Here's one. Remember the blank day and keep it holy. Super Bowl day. Yeah. Oh, no, wait. Remember the Sabbath. Yeah, what's a Sabbath? What's a Sabbath day? It's the day of rest. Absolutely. As Christians, we lift up the day Jesus was resurrected, which is which day? Sunday. Yes, as Christians, we have Sabbath. So you guys are keeping it holy. You're in church today. You are remembering the Sabbath day, and you are keeping it holy by worshiping God with your brothers and sisters in Christ. But did you know this? I don't know if you knew this. God doesn't need us to worship him. Did you know that? That God doesn't wake up in the morning saying, oh man, I'm feeling really down. I need someone to worship me today. It's like, oh, it's Sunday. Great. I think there'll be a couple people that show up to church. I'm so much better now. Thank you, guys. But what really, yes, we're worshiping to God, but who is worship really for? Honestly. Yes, it really is. The worship goes to God, but it really is for us. And I love this phrase. Sabbath is for us. It's about reconnecting by disconnecting. It's about reconnecting with God. It really is about reconnecting with each other by disconnecting from the 6 days a week sometimes of the grind of keeping our heads to the ground, going through the motions of life sometimes. And God says, it's so easy to get stuck in that. I need you to pull out of this and just reconnect to me. And I'm still trying to figure out how to do that as a pastor, because the Sabbath, I don't know if you know this, it's the 1 hour a week I work. So I got to figure out how to do that. But JK. All right, so honor your blank, blank, blank. Father and mother. All right, but that doesn't include grandparents or brother or sister, right? Or why is that so important? Remember, this is the first thing. We just talked about the three things, how we connect to God, all right? How we do relationship with God. Now we're talking about relationship with one another. So wouldn't it make more sense to say, be nice to everyone? What God is saying here when he gave those commands is love those nearest and dearest to you. And by this, you are honoring me. Meaning, invest in your family, because family does matter. It really does. Invest in your family. Honor your mother and father. Because guess what? Someday you may just be a mother and father, and I will make your kids treat you how you treated your mother. Anyway, that's not how it works. But it's all about loving those nearest and dearest to you. And by that, you are honoring God. Let's keep moving on. This is a hard one for us to remember sometimes. You shall not murder. Okay. And sometimes should be a common sense thing, but it isn't. We still have a lot of murdering going on. And maybe not a lot of you in here are murderers. Sometimes you want to become a murderer if the sermon goes too long. I get it. But if you look at this, maybe a little bit, the underlining of this is God is the giver of life. It's not our job to stand in to take lives of people. But here's kind of an underscore question that you can take home from that is, ask yourself this question: do you enhance life or diminish life? Are you a person that takes life out of a person's existence by saying negative, venomous things to them? Or are you a giver of life, and do you breathe life into people with your words? Are you killing spirits of people, so to speak? If you're one of those people that don't murder on a daily basis, let's phrase it like that maybe. All right, here we go. You shall not commit adultery. All right, and as a kid when I was learning this, I'm like, okay, adultery. So I saw the word adult, but never really understood what it meant. But it's all about this. Once again, it's all about relationship. When you're in a relationship, you have to commit to that relationship. You have to be focused on that and invest in it. And to go outside of it, just like God is a jealous God, doesn't want you to seek outside gods in your own relationships. Stay true and invest in it because it matters. Skip that. How about this? You shall not. What's this one? 7. We just did murder. You shall not murder. So this is steal. Very good. Don't steal things, all right? And has anyone ever had something stolen from you before? It seems to me that this is an ultimate violation of privacy sometimes, or you feel very violated when you had something stolen. I remember when I was first down in Orlando, I just got this big welcome party from my church up in Longwood, and they gave me all these gift cards. Being a single guy at the time, all these gift cards were wonderful. I kept them in my glove box that night, and then my car got broken into, and all these things were stolen. I'm just like, oh man, that was my stuff, man. But so, that's just a small thing, but this is all about how we do relationship. Just don't take. We're supposed to be in this living commune of loving each other and giving and not taking. It breaks relationship. Anyway, keep on moving. You shall not bear. Very good. You guys are good. You should all join Jeopardy. Bear false witness. And I know this is seems like one of these things that, okay, I try not to lie, right? Don't lie. But I have this simple test for you to get you through this. Keep track of how much time you spend bearing false witness about someone, or even gossiping against someone, shining bad light on the other. Did you hear about that pastor's sermon, or did you blah, 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 see this or do that? What would it look like to do the contrary thing and bear truth about other people? Man, did you hear what Doug said? That was phenomenal. He is incredible, or just to lift people up. But our egos sometimes need to tear someone down so that we can be made great. What if we lift people up so that God can be made great? Wouldn't that be incredible, church? That's one of my challenges for you this week. Here we go. Keeping on moving on. You shall not covet. That one word, covet. Oh my goodness, what's it all about? And the actual Hebrew translation of this could mean a plethora of things, but we have kind of translated it into the senses, do not, really the big being behind it is, do not lust after your neighbors. Do not desire something that is not yours. Do not desire your neighbor's house. All right? And as Lutherans, the way Luther separated them, he separated the covets. So I will do these together. You shall not covet your neighbor's. I just made it easy for you guys. Spouse, servant, your donkey, ox, anything that belongs to your neighbor. And I don't know about you guys. I haven't coveted a lot of oxes, my neighbor's oxes in my day. And then in the Bible study, they said, well, there's that thing at the end that says anything that belongs to your neighbor. Last week, I talked about, our hearts trying to keep up with the Joneses. And I was reading about that, and we tend to desire what our neighbors desire. Have you ever noticed that before? That not because the things they desire is good themselves, but because someone else desires them. And you notice that sometimes if you watch kids playing with toys. Have you ever seen that? Like this is the most uninteresting toy in the world until someone else starts playing with it. And then your kid's like, oh my gosh, that's so interesting. I want that, you know? And so we live that. And in fact, this philosopher named Rene, he made this thing called the triangular mimetic desire. So we tend to desire these things that others desire. So if someone has a Jaguar in their driveway, we want a Jaguar. And it's this ongoing thing. And God says, no. You're leading to the life of worshiping other things. Once again, in this relationship, it should be about me. It should be about God. And with your neighbors, it's all about this loving, giving thing. So I want to tell you this, guys, real quick. I know this is a lot to throw at you. I don't know how many times a day you think about the 10 Commandments. God gave 10 because guess what? A lot of us have 10 fingers so that we can easily remember, right? So I want you to do this. Try making these an everyday thing, especially maybe something more practical like speaking truth into people and lifting people up. Or maybe think of some songs that can help you remember that. Jose and I wrote a song about the 10 Commandments that can help you memorize these even better. Do you want to hear it? Yeah, sure. Okay, let's roll the clip, guys. This will help you guys remember the 10 Commandments a little better.
The Lord Jehovah has given unto you these 10 commandments for all to obey.
It's your basket, baby, straight out of the Nile, man. Commissioned by a burning bush, but I was in denial, man. I was like, who this? And God like, I am. Sending me to free my peeps and send them to the promised land. I stop my stutter, take my staff and say to Pharaoh, listen, yo, so you know you gotta let my people go. He said no, but only just initially, invaded by some plagues. Then he finally set my people free.
He set my people free. He set my people free.
So they wonder why they're wandering, how quickly all of them forget. God set them free, he parts the sea and even gets them fed. They're acting up, forgetting God and living in lament, and all they say is oy vey and oh hey, did we get there yet? Leading this crew of Jews is kinda new to me. Gotta keep these peeps from falling deep into tomfoolery. And so I take my staff, and I say goodbye, and I make my way to Mount Sinai. Trumpet sounds announce that God has landed. Time to get those coveted commandments. And like thunder, bam! God yells out, this is who I am. The Lord your God, the one and only. Forget those other gods, you gotta get to know me. And for my name, when you use it, don't abuse it or say it in vain. The Sabbath day, it's the best. It's time to remind you who designed you and rest. Seriously, don't do anything, just rest. Okay, moving on. You gotta treat your mama right. Your dad too, they raised you, respect that. You need to obey them without a fight. Your mother, just love her. Another for you, don't take another's life. Don't murder.
Wait, I think this is just one of those, it should be a common sense thing. Just don't murder people. Like, just don't do that, okay?
Recognize that I provide. Don't steal anything, I'll get you what you need. Don't take another's wife or husband. Take care of your marriage and love them. And do not lie. May all that you say bring praise up to heaven. And don't covet a single thing. Your neighbor's wife, your neighbor's ride, or your neighbor's bling. Not their green, not their land, not their green eggs and ham. Not their job, not their pet or iPad.
Bro, my bad.
It all comes down to this. All this is about relationship. It all comes down to this. All this is about relationship.
All right. So with that, take that home with you and memorize the 10 Commandments, all right? Go in peace. With that, church, let us just prepare our hearts for worship some more and forget that ever came to you, and I hope I have a job tomorrow. All right, let's continue worship today, and I'd like to invite up our